Food is more than just what's on our plate. It's the places where it's grown, it's the people who grow it, and so much more. Join me, Janice Person, your host, on Grounded by the Farm every other week as we talk about the foods we love. Whether you think of salad as a main course or something that just goes alongside your entree, chances are most of us think of lettuce being involved. That's what we're talking about today on Grounded by the Farm. We are in Yuma, Arizona, talking to Jonathan Dinsmore. Jonathan is somebody I met years ago and have stayed in touch with on social media. Those of you who love Instagram and seeing where your food comes from, you're going to want to follow him. It's The Farmer John, and that's Jon. On this episode, I finally get Jonathan in his home area. It's my first time to his farm, and I get to see him sort of where he lives, away from all the filters. When you finally get a person in their farm and on their territory, you see the real them, right? Like Instagram has some filters sometimes.
For sure. This is real life.
Sometimes we heighten things. Now I'm sitting in your shop, and there's a little dust here.
Oh, yeah, for sure. This is as real as it gets. I had to get a new driver's license the other day, and when it asked me the question about my height and my age and my weight, I thought, how honest do I need to be here? So this is real life. Welcome to the farm.
I appreciate it. So let's talk first about what kinds of lettuce and what are you growing right now?
So this time of year is our big push for lettuce season. In the Yuma Valley, we are the lettuce capital of the world between November and March. And that all kicks off around September 1st when we start to put seed in the ground, and all the transplants will go in for some of the various vegetables like celery and cauliflower and anise and kale. That's a big one now, thanks to a lot of the cooking shows. So when we get started in early September, it's something that we gear up for all throughout the summertime.
Awesome. So when we were driving around, we saw some of the lettuce that you guys have planted over the last month. You're still planting some now.
Yes.
I'm somebody who buys lettuce, and I swear I don't ever know what I need for different things. What kind of, you grow head lettuce or iceberg?
Mm-hmm. We grow head lettuce, we grow fresh romaine, and we grow romaine hearts. We also focus on the red and green leaf mixed lettuce as well.
Romaine and romaine heart. It's not just romaine with the outside taken away that's the romaine heart?
It's also the way it's grown. Often the varieties will be the same, but it's how they're spaced out in a field as well. So the romaine hearts, we want them to be a little bit closer together so they kind of reach for the sky. And some of my pictures, I'll emphasize that and say reach for the sky, because the romaine hearts are so close they inevitably just stand upright. And we want to focus on having a good solid heart inside of that.
Okay, so you actually plant the seeds closer together so the plants grow closer together?
Yes, as well, it's how it's thinned. Mm-hmm. Often a field won't be planted to a stand. We'll plant 2 inches, 2 1/4 inches. We'll do a 3-seed drop, and that gives us options so that we have a uniform stand across the field, because if we're too far apart, our cropping patterns will show, and it will definitely come full circle at harvest time, and will not be real happy.
Tell me, out of all the lettuces, do you have a favorite?
Romaine hearts are a real favorite of mine, but nothing beats a good wedge salad from a head lettuce. And it's funny, my oldest son, to this day, everywhere we go, he's just like, give me the iceberg. And it makes me proud, because when you wedge a salad, put some almonds on it, or almonds as my friends say in California, and put some blue cheese crumbles on there. There's just a little bit of sliced tomato. It's wonderful.
Really?
It's the best.
So that's the thing, iceberg. How do you harvest that?
So it's the same as our iceberg and our romaines. It's all by hand. A crew will go in. They'll have a lettuce knife, which looks kind of like a butcher knife, and they'll cut it close to the soil. And normally that will be wrapped in either plastic or will go straight into a carton. And the red and green leaf mixed lettuce is usually a little bit smaller than your fresh romaine, and it often has a quicker growing season. So as opposed to it being a 90-day crop, it may come off in 2/3 that time and be ready for harvest rather quickly, which is also a benefit when we start planning the season, because we may want to follow it up with another crop. and be able to utilize our soil as much as we can.
Red and green are both colors in spring mix. When you're growing a spring mix, do you go to the red field and then to the green field?
So on spring mix, we don't grow that baby leaf lettuce, but yes, often you will see in the same block, in this Yuma Valley, you'll see a lot of 20-acre blocks. That seems to be a standard, easier to irrigate and manage. In a 20-acre block, you could see a dozen different plantings of small-leafed items across the valley. And in one field, you may see a 2.5-acre planting next to a 1-acre planting, next to a 3-acre planting, and so forth. But that not only allows them product through a certain amount of weeks where they don't have to leave a field, it also allows them an opportunity to kind of reach across the different plantings to fulfill an order. So if they're looking for a certain amount of baby greens or the little baby romaine and maybe need a little bit of the red, it's going to grow sometimes differently based off of how it responds to the soil and the weather.
They actually put those in the same field. So it looks a little bit more like a garden than some of the stuff we were seeing today. So I took pictures, and we'll put those up on the website, groundedbythefarm.com. But you're saying, I just didn't see it today, and I think I have photos of that somewhere, so maybe I can dig one up, and if not, I'm sure you have
I'll send you directions to a field right now. This is the time of the year I love to put the drone up and take those shots from above, because Yuma is not known to have a lot of color in our vegetation. You'll see around our fields, really won't find many weeds, really don't find many trees. I would say the most trees you probably saw this morning were medjool dates that are pretty well contained to a certain field. And so when we see the red leaves start to grow next to the greens, it's beautiful. And that's what we try to tell people about our valleys. When you get off the interstate and you come down south, close to the border, and you see what we are growing and realize it's what you're eating, what you're getting from the large clamshells at Sam's Club and Costco and your various different grocery stores, it's neat to be able to share that with them.
Yeah. How many places in the U.S. even grow lettuce? I've never planted any in my backyard.
Question. I don't know, but what has been great in my experience over the last 10 years getting involved with ag organizations like Farm Bureau, shameless plug, that allowed me to meet different people my age that are growing lettuce in Michigan, in Florida, in Colorado, and now we actually are friends via social media, and we can stay in touch with each other and hit each other up and say, hey, how'd that weather treat your market? Did you guys see a knock on it? Hopefully it'll kind of pick up before that season moves to the West Coast, and vice versa. We get to talk to people down in Florida and say, hey, Godspeed with the weather that's coming your way. We'll keep growing as much as we can in case we need to fill a gap anywhere in the markets.
So you feel good about eating a salad wherever you are in the U.S.?
Absolutely.
Where does your lettuce go to?
A lot of the lettuce we grow because we contract for a company, it will be shipped across the country, a lot to the Midwest, some to the East Coast. And some of the stores vary by name. Where we have a Fry's here may have a different name in the East Coast. But what we've also seen is some of our lettuce being used in places like Panera Bread. And that is kind of a neat factor to be able to have when we're out on the road and the family says, what do you want to eat? And I can say, hey, there's a good chance we may get to eat some of our lettuce because we're harvesting right now. And it could be in this restaurant today. And so there's a bit of pride when you walk in, and it's kind of like you look around and you think, nobody really knows that this could be our lettuce. Kind of a big deal. Don't want to brag, guys, but your dad's kind of doing okay over here.
So is there a way for us to look for your lettuce? I mean, do you grow for a brand? Because I've noticed there are some branded lettuces, and then there's some that aren't.
Yeah, so great question. We've grown for about 26 seasons. This is our 26th season growing for Andy Boy, DiRigo Brothers of California. It's a pink label, and they've been a wonderful family to farm with, because what many don't realize is that while some farms are larger than others and some harvest companies are larger than others, the family aspect has not disappeared. So many of these family-run businesses still have that connection and understand that while our ground may vary from another farm in the valley that grows for them, they seem to appreciate and understand and are willing to work with us. So we take great pride in that pink label, Andy Boy. When you're out in the grocery stores and you see the 3-pack of romaine hearts in a bag and it's pink, and now with the new food safety standards that have to say what valley it came from, you look, and if it says grown in Yuma, Arizona, odds are that came from one of our fields.
Wow. I'm
Yeah.
going to have to be checking the labels.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You think about it, like for most of us, we just don't think about that every component that we have in our meals came from some kind of farm somewhere. And you were talking about this being family related, the distributor shipper you were working with. I met your dad on the way in. So tell me a little bit about how your family is still involved. Obviously, your dad is.
Yeah. So brief history, my great-grandfather got started farming in this part of the valley in the 40s after the war. At least that's what I've been told. After college, I had a chance to go work for the University of Arizona, working with the Cooperative Extension for about a year. And then I had a wonderful opportunity to go farm up in the Salinas Valley of California with a farm that provided me opportunities to see what it's like to grow for many, many shippers and grow a bunch of different items and really cut my teeth on using drip tape and sprinklers and multiple different types of irrigation.
Okay, do you mind if I translate some of the things
yes,
you're saying?
Yes, please do.
One cooperative extension is something that goes through the land-grant universities. So every state has, like, is it the University of Arizona
University
here?
of Arizona, bear down.
Okay. And Tennessee, it's the University of Tennessee, Texas A&M, Cornell, all those great land-grant schools. And their agricultural programs include a component called Cooperative Extension that helps research and works with farmers as well as part of the ag schools.
Yes.
So that's an important one. And then you just threw in the words drip tape. And drip tape is, and I can show pictures of that on the website, but it's where you actually put the kind of a little hose tape thing under the ground.
Thank you for clarifying that. You know, there's so many terms that we use on a daily basis here that we throw around as common knowledge, and I realize when I'm learning about another industry or learning about a part of my industry that I'm not familiar with, I find myself a little frustrated when they use words that they assume I know. So thank you for catching me on that. I will try to do better because you're right. That drip irrigation, as an example of being able to lay a thin plastic tape a couple inches under the soil, will protect it from the sun. It will allow the moisture to make it down to the roots a little more precisely. As well, when we put fertilizer through that tape, it's right there at the root zone. There's no guessing. There's no amount of time that we really have to worry about. We know that it should be going right there. So that farm allowed me that opportunity. And then finally I had a chance to come back to the family farm. And for a handful of years, got to grow with my grandfather, my father, and myself, 3 generations actively managing a farm. While we definitely have hurdles, like any family business, been super blessed with the opportunities that I've been given, and I would say I've earned. And being able to mess up is a great learning experience. And I think that's something that we should all remember when we're leading others into battle, whether that's a sport or school or just in work in general. Being able to allow people to fail is solid. And so I'm super grateful that these days my dad and I are out on a daily basis. If you noticed when you saw him in the shop yard, he was kind of a high and by and hit the truck, and he's out on the road, which allows me an opportunity to sit down in the shop right now. Again, the fact that I'm looking at my oil filters and all of the different food safety supplies that we have right now. Sitting right behind Janice is one of our newer welders and air compressor. We're sitting at a picnic table next to oxygen and acetylene welders.
I think I'm going to take a selfie while we do this.
So to describe that to you is because while we're not perfect here, we're always learning.
Yeah.
And we're not afraid of that. And so it's been wonderful to work with family because now I can bring my 5 children, who I hope maybe one of them wants to be a 5th generation farmer, to the farm and just get to show them what we love to do.
So you bring the kids out on the farm on a regular basis?
Yes.
Do you bring them all at once or one at a time? My goodness, 5 kids.
Yeah, so the schedule is always varied, depends on who wants to come out. Usually it's the littlest always want to come out. My oldest will come out when she knows she'll get an opportunity to jump behind a wheel and practice her driving skills. So that's been good. I've had my oldest daughter on a hay rake and a dump rake and let her really kind of cut her teeth driving in a field.
15?
She's 15 and started that last summer when she was 14, and Mom wasn't too excited about that, but Might have told her after the fact, so sorry about that, babe. But yeah, get to bring the kids out, and even if we don't have grand plans for the day that we're going to go walk in a bunch of fields and inspecting for bug issues or irrigation problems, sometimes it's just put your dirty shoes on and let's hit the road so you guys can go get dirty and see what it's like and be reminded to enjoy this beautiful weather that we have here in Yuma, because our winter months, while may seem chilly to me, are a desirable location for many across the country.
Yeah, I can guarantee some of our friends are dealing with an awful lot of snow right now.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk some more about lettuce and our eating it and stuff. When we were driving around earlier, you said you love to throw romaine hearts on the grill. Tell me what that's about.
I think it's always just trying to find some way to utilize our vegetables. I've had somebody tell me before, growing lettuce is really not too sexy. But
really,
yeah, I find that hard to believe, because on a daily basis, I get to stand out in a field and just admire the leaves and admire watching how it's able to grow out of soil that is so dry and arid and turn into something that is great to eat, in all seriousness. So when you take a good romaine heart and you throw it up there on the grill, a couple leaves at a time, I know there are different ways you can baste it. You can apply some different vinaigrettes and other things to it, but I just like a simple romaine heart, slap it up there, maybe even slice some tomatoes, grill them a little bit, and it always adds a little bit of extra flair to what we seem to be eating.
Yeah. I haven't had grilled romaine hearts, so now I'm going to have to try it.
You can try it. Definitely low heat seems to be a good thing. Kids don't like burnt lettuce.
Okay. So, what are some of the other ways your family, does your wife ever call and say, hey, John, bring some lettuce home tonight?
Yes, often. And the problem is, though, when she's not calling me, I translate that as I need to make up for lost time, and I bring too much home. Too many times she'll look at me and say, you realize we may have 5 kids, but we cannot eat 6 heads of lettuce this week. So it is funny, but even when my wife calls me and says, hey, would you bring home some iceberg or some romaine or mixed lettuce, I still put my gloves on and I make sure my knife is clean. I walk out in the field, follow our food safety protocols. And one, I want to be a good example to my kids if they're watching, but 2, because I know that food safety matters. And what we often try to tell people these days is that we are the consumer too. Mm-hmm. We don't want people to think we're out here just trying to grow dollars. We're here doing this because we love it and we get to do it. And there are a lot of people out there that wish they had this opportunity. And so I don't want to take it for granted. And I want to take care of what we do, because I'm looking at the future here. I'm hoping my kids get a chance to come out to the farm, and who knows, maybe even bring their kids someday. And that doesn't happen if I don't look after what we do on a daily basis.
Right. You were telling me while we were out driving around that there were some new things that you were going to do in food safety. And I mean, I don't mind telling you, in the last couple of years, there's been some times where I worried about even asking you guys questions, because lettuce was a big topic in the news and food safety concerns. And, all of our hearts go out to anybody who got sick while they were eating something. Mm-hmm. Can you help me understand that? Because I'm talking to you, and I know how important you think food safety is. And what is it? What are other farmers doing? Or
yeah, what we were given was an opportunity to grow and to change. Often when you want to get stronger, you have to tear muscle, and sometimes it hurts, and sometimes it's embarrassing, and pride can get in the way of that. Fear of change can get in the way of that. And right now we have been working with the Leafy Greens marketing agreement and certain organizations like the Yuma Safe Produce Council to be a liaison and to really help the growers here in the valley stay on top of these food safety changes. One thing that groups like the Food Safety Council, one thing they've done is really helped start to show the community what we've been doing for years. We have been testing water at a growing level every month. Every employee is trained to prevent contamination in a field. Simple things like restrooms in a field now. You'll see them.
It is so strange to see porta potties on wheels going everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important.
For sure. And every one of the units has a sink on the outside to make sure that we're verifying that people are washing their hands. Not only are they trained on how to wash hands, but they're actually doing it. The changes that have come down the pipeline in the last 6 months to a year have really involved sanitizing our irrigation water. While we're all sampling the water out here and testing for certain factors to make sure that it's safe, we're now taking it another step and actually sanitizing any irrigation water that is 21 days to harvest. So if I know I'm harvesting on Halloween, any irrigation that is a sprinkler or overhead water from, let's say, the 10th on needs to be sanitized. And many of us are now doing that 1 or 2 irrigations sooner, just to make sure we're really doing everything within our ability beyond picking up trash in the ditches. Because for those that don't know, in the Yuma Valley, all of our irrigation water comes from the Colorado River. And we're growing vegetables in a desert where we average just over 3 inches of rain a year. It's really phenomenal what we're able to do here because of that access to water. We want to make sure we value it, we conserve it, and we take care of it. So we're picking up trash through all of the canals, making sure that we're free of debris. You won't find nearly as many trees growing over a ditch anymore because you don't want those foreign objects, leaves, fecal matter from a bird coming in there. And now at the field level, we're going another step in sanitizing the irrigation water.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, you know, it's hard to imagine just having a bird in a field could cause problems for food safety, and yet it is really that simple. A bird in a tree over a ditch could actually be causing problems, and so you guys have to be so methodical. So we typically think how many hands also handle it once it's left the farm. So your guys and girls, they're working in the field, are wearing plastic boots. They're wearing plastic
sometimes
sleeves
yes.
or gloves.
And we say sometimes because that's based primarily on we always follow the proper protocol on what is required. Hair nets, beard nets, gloves, whether it be powder-free or latex. But certain clients for the harvest, for example, we contract with a company, but they may sell that product to Wendy's or Panera Bread or a grocery store. They may have different requirements in there that says, you know what, I know the standards say just wear gloves and the beard nets, hair nets, but we would like you to actually also wear sleeves over the arms.
Yeah, go above and beyond.
Yeah, maybe even an apron. And that's just to really step it up another notch, because we want to make sure nothing is coming off of the people's clothes or out of their hair and contaminating the product.
Yeah. It's just amazing how much goes into that, because, you know, in my backyard, God only knows what gets on the plants that I plant in my garden.
You know,
like,
during harvest season, if you drive around the valley, and I'll send you some pictures this season, it is not uncommon to drive by a field and you will see hundreds of flags that are in a line. They may zigzag, but they're in a line from one end of a field to another. And that's normally where a coyote came into a field and left. Sometimes it's rather humorous because you have to laugh. A coyote may have gone in, or a dog, changed his mind, looped back around, done a couple zigzags, left, came back in. But the point is, when we see the tracks of the animals, we mark it, and there's no harvest within there. If there's fecal matter, it has to be removed. It has to be documented that it was removed. And these are all corrective actions that we, as a collective here in the Valley, show. We've all got records of it, and we want to make sure that the product that is going, the vegetables, see, I'm saying product like it's just a number. The vegetables that are going onto the shelves and in the plates, we want to make sure that those are as clean and sanitary as possible.
Yeah. So what do I need to do at home when I get that? Because you guys have been so focused on it here. Obviously, the people in the grocery store and the people who are handling it for the distributor and stuff, they don't want to make me sick either. So should I consider it sanitary when it gets to my house?
Always wash it. Even when the bag says double or triple rinsed, wash it. One of the biggest, least expensive investments our family made was a salad spinner. I love it.
You have a salad spinner.
I am not a great cook. I love to barbecue, but I will turn a mean salad spinner. Every time we get our vegetables, we'll rinse them, we'll wash them, strain them, put them in a salad spinner, spin it away, and it's amazing how much you still get out of it. And what we've learned is not only does that give us that added bit of confidence that we have done our part, it's great that the farms now are really stepping up and doing more than they already have been doing for years. But now, how can we take responsibility at home to step it up and take some ownership to feel like we're a part of this? It's not that we're putting blame on families, but we want to say, how can you be a part of this? Join us. Let's go ahead and rinse this, and let's do it again, and teach your kids how to spin that salad spinner. And when you're done for the night and you want to put that salad that's left over in a Ziploc bag or whatever container you choose to use, it will store a whole lot better once you've taken all that extra water out.
Oh, okay. So the limpness of the fact
Absolutely.
that my
It stays
salads
crispy.
go really limp is because I'm not spinning it?
Well, yeah.
Wow.
I will never
Okay.
forget when I was dating my wife, and I brought some fresh lettuce right out of the field that day when I drove 4 hours north Phoenix to go visit my wife and her family when we were dating. And her little sister at the time was eating salad and kept saying, "Mom, why is it so crunchy?" And getting to explain to a kid that, one, when it's fresh, it actually is meant to be crispy. But two, this is what we love. This is what makes us happy. And so how everything is packaged in a field now, from food safety to just the quality alone, you'll notice more and more changes in the bag, and the material of the bag salad has changed. The clamshell plastic containers has changed. It's all about how well can we preserve it and make sure we capture that taste and that quality of it.
Yeah, and then for me to go the extra mile and spin it, if I'm going to have some of that lettuce left over,
For sure.
makes a difference, so that maybe I don't throw lettuce away. Because I've got to say, I feel a little bit guilty wasting food like that. And I know food waste is something more people are concerned about. So if you're telling me getting a salad spinner is going to help me avoid some of that.
Pretty inexpensive too.
Yeah.
And we were a little late to the game as well, and we're lettuce farmers for Pete's sake, but it has sure been something that we use on a regular basis. The kids actually start to fight over who gets to spin the salad that night.
So do your kids love lettuce?
Yes, and probably no, but I'll say yes in the fact that
there's 5 of them.
They sure seem to love me a lot because they don't complain about the salad. There may have been a time a few years ago where one of our children may or may not have been storing the salad in his pockets during dinner, because I kept noticing.
So they're normal kids.
Oh yeah, I kept noticing. Wow, he's just plowing through that salad so quickly. And then one night I realized he got up to fill up his water cup, and there was salad sticking out of his pocket. And I thought, okay, you know what? I give him some credit for trying. I give him credit. But a funny story, if I can share. My oldest daughter, 2 of our children, Janice, we've adopted, and both of them were a little bit older. And when we were adopting Mary and we were bringing her home, Mary and I had about 11-hour layover in London, and she didn't speak English at the time. And we had about 6 weeks together in Uganda, living together, going through the visa process, and had learned a little bit of communication, but still struggled. Well, we got off the plane in London, she and I, and my wife and other children had taken another plane because they had round-trip tickets. And I was pointing out some breakfast items to Mary, and she picked a sandwich out that had bacon and eggs and some lettuce on there. And we sat down. She opened it up, picked the lettuce off, threw it in the trash can, and ate her sandwich. And I thought, oh, that's funny. Okay, no big deal.
How many times has she heard this story?
Too many. And a few hours later, lunchtime rolls around, and went back to the same little place in the airport. She picked out a wrap, opened it up, took the lettuce off, threw it in the trash can. And I just thought, oh, this girl is in for a world of surprise when we get home. And needless to say, a few days later, after we had made it home, got to take her out to the farm for the first time and show her what was hers. And I remember pointing at this 80-acre romaine field, and I just said, look, romaine, lettuce, because I kept saying lettuce good when we were in London. And she looked at me and said, oh. I said, yeah. And so she has admitted to this day that she eats it not necessarily because she loves it, but because she loves us.
Well, and there may have been some cultural context behind some of that.
Wouldn't
at
doubt
8 in Uganda, she may not have had a lot of lettuce, or she may have only had bad lettuce.
Yeah.
She just didn't have Dinsmore.
You're absolutely right. You're
Right?
absolutely right. And again, what a great experience for us to learn perspective.
Right. It's always an adventure raising kids, but to get some that are older and haven't had the experiences we normally give you really early in life.
Yeah,
it's really exciting to see how quickly they embrace some of them, and how some of them might be a little intimidating now and then, I guess.
And her younger siblings, our biological and adopted children, got to walk her through a lot of normalcies to their everyday American life.
Right.
And it was neat to see them really kind of come together about that. And that is honestly an example to me about farming. And my friends know that I bring farming back to just about anything. I think it is one of the greatest jobs in the world. I think it's one of the oldest jobs, which is what's so cool about it. But I think everything we do can be related back to farming, whether it's animals, vegetables, row crops, cotton, alfalfa, wheat. Being able to draw those comparisons that every day is a learning experience, and we would not be able to do it without the help of family and the community. And in this community, Yuma is special. I would brag about Yuma all day, every day.
Yeah, it is special. It's I found each of the farming communities I typically get to, I find something special about each of them. How do you pick what kind of lettuce for a salad? Do you know? Because I don't.
That's a great question. I would just say take all of them. Take all of the lettuces. That's a great question. Honestly, I really dig the prepackaged bags. So when my wife, if I'm running to the grocery store and I say, hey, babe, what can I get for dinner tonight? What do we need? Hey, can you grab a couple bags of salad? It's always like this small pleasure of mine that I get to choose what salad we're eating that night if I don't want to cut everything up and spin it. The pre-bagged, different styles is nice to have the options. And my wife loves the small leafed items like the mustards. My kids aren't a huge fan. So some nights we'll actually have multiple different salads available just because we can, and that's what's fun about it is we try to teach our kids that it doesn't have to be one thing or the other.
Yeah.
I love the fact that if my oldest son says, Dad, I want a wedge salad tonight, great, here's a knife, here's a cutting board, let me show you how to do it safely, here's how I would recommend doctoring it up. And while Ambrose, my other son, may say, hey, you know what, I'd like some romaine tonight, let's go for it. It's nice that we have the options, and it is a blessing that we live in a country where we have access to healthy, pretty inexpensive vegetables on a regular basis.
Yeah. Do you make wraps very often?
We do. We've also done the animal style. I don't know if you're familiar with that, In-N-Out burger. Yeah,
but a lot of people may not listen.
Oh, man, you take a good leaf of lettuce. We often use the head lettuce leaves, good green, some good crisp to it. You don't need to cut it too close to the core where the
white
thickness increases there. But yeah, you definitely will. Sometimes we'll put ground beef inside of there with a little bit of cheese, some black beans, and Ambrose and I can eat salsa all day, every day. Ambrose can finish a tub of salsa from the big box stores in a week.
Wow.
He'll eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which I love it. He's just after my own heart.
Yours.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, unquestionable. And sometimes we'll do the animal style burger where we take that leaf and wrap it around a hamburger patty and put some cheese in there. And I'm a big fan of bread, I'm not going to lie. So that's how I would normally prefer it. But some nights it's good to try things a little different.
Yeah. Well, tell me how you got into Instagram. Because, I've done very few posts that were really popular, but me saying here are the top 18 farmers on Instagram, for some reason, that is so popular. Yeah. It's amazing how many people. You're obviously on the list. How did you get into Instagram? Photography in general.
Yeah, so I've loved taking pictures since I was a little kid, and I just compiled picture after picture, and I would every now and then look through some of them, but I realized I had these little containers of all these pictures, but really wasn't getting to show them to anybody, and that wasn't why I was taking them. I was taking them because I love to capture a moment, but at the same time, who doesn't love to share something with somebody else? And while I would say it's less for the accolades, I enjoy being able to share a picture with very few words and let others translate it. And if it doesn't speak to them, that's cool. Keep scrolling. But in a world where we are oversaturated with divisive and controversial topics, I love the idea of being able to scroll and stop and see a picture of a sunset or a sunrise or some head lettuce or a sprinkler in a field that may be just a small video clip, and it's just the sound of that. I think it's peaceful. Mm-hmm. And again, that may speak to me different than others, but it allowed me an avenue to be able to start sharing my passion. And there are days where I struggle, where I want to say more. And I want to jump into that deep well of opinions. And I realize I have a passion for showing people what I get to do on a daily basis. And while I'm still learning how to be a photographer, it's fun to shoot from the hip, literally. There are times I'll walk out to a field, I'll put my camera down at my waist, I'll take a couple shots, wait till I get to the office to look at them. And sometimes I'll share the crooked ones. Other times I'll walk away and I'll think, man, that shot was just golden. And I may have far fewer engagement and reach on Instagram or Facebook about an image that I thought was money in the bank. And then I'll post a picture that I think is a throwaway shot of something that I see every day, and it seems to speak to people differently. And that in and of itself is a reminder that this world is so much fun that we get to live in now, where I've now made friends with people across the country and across the world that are in farming. But I have friends that I didn't even know commuted to Yuma every produce season, that we've worked fields away from each other, never knew each other. You know, Ramiro is a friend of mine, Ram 628, works for Bud, and he is a top dog. He's constantly fixing machines in the middle of the night, removing cabs from vehicles and making it look like it's no problem. And I think I'm handy, and I watch what he's doing, and so we got to know each other over Instagram and start talking, and now we realize, hey, a couple of us Yuma folks that got to know each other via Instagram, even though we live a few minutes away from each other, are planning to have a big dinner next month when Ramiro comes into town.
Yeah.
We're excited about that. And these are good farmers, and I mean, they've got quality content. And the ones that I'm not saying, it's just because there's so many of you that I'm inspired by those that are able to share their videos and their pictures and the imperfections. That every day, if I take a picture of a weed or a Polar Pop soda cup floating down a ditch bank, it's my reminder that I need to pick it up. But this is every day for us. This is what makes what we do beautiful.
Yeah. It's amazing, the farmers on Instagram. I'm a city girl, so I did not grow up in an ag world, but I can tell you how often I'm flipping through my Instagram and I'm seeing food in different ways, seeing the origins of food. I love it.
Can I tell you, I'm wearing my Bales Hay hat right now. I'm trying to channel my inner Trevor Bales. Between he and Jay Hill, these guys are so inspirational. You got Beaver Vineyards. There's just so many that are in my head.
Yeah. And the cool thing is you can also have those connections to people who've never been to farms like this, right? Yeah. So Trevor lives here in Arizona. You can meet up with him at some meeting in Phoenix probably at some point.
My daughter and I went to a basketball game to see the WNBA Phoenix Mercury for her birthday. And that Saturday morning, I thought, you know what? We passed within 10 minutes of his hay farms. And I texted Trevor and I said, you got time if Mary and I stop by just to say hello? And he said, of course.
Yeah.
And popped in. We traded hats. Like a lot of us are doing now, we trade in hats. So if you guys want hats, reach out to me on Instagram at @thefarmerjohn, and we'll figure something out. But we just love getting to know each other on social media now and getting to share different aspects of what we do. And it's fun to see what really kind of sparks other people's interests.
Are you going to start sharing pictures when you throw romaine on the grill? Do you do that? If not, I think you should.
I'm making a note right now. I don't see. I lack confidence in my grill game, but you know what? I'll do that.
How clean is the grill? Are you going to worry about all those things?
No, that I can't, because the dirtier the better for the taste. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up. I want to remind people to find you on The Farmer John on Instagram. I'll also point out we're going to have some photos and some video, and we'll put those on the website, Grounded by the Farm. Would love for people to hit the subscribe button, enter their email so you can hear back from us. Now and then I may be able to put an update from John on the website without having it on the podcast, since he said he'd send me pictures later in the year. Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, everybody.